draft. But he mentioned, like you said, the NFL draft. He said, everyone's analyzing, I'm paraphrasing here, but everyone's, analyzing the body language, the facial expressions, everything that's going on because there is so much coverage on Shador and Shiloh. And he said no one had any clue what was really going on, and including his kids. Yeah,
the daughters did, which I found interesting that, they were strong enough to handle it. And we all know men, we're horrible patients. I mean, we are. My wife can have 102 temp and still go about the family business. If I, eat bad lasagna and get a little gassy, I'm laid up on the couch. You know what I mean? It just, women they're better patients than we are. But Deion did not have to go through, I'm going to say public embarrassment, but he's not embarrassed about it. And I don't guess any of us should be. Here's Deion Sanders, cut 7, just about his passion to deal with all of this and go back to coach a football team that all of us think are going to be 4-8. Here's Deion.
I always knew I was going to coach again. I didn't realize I was going to coach again. I was always going to coach. It was never in my spirit, in my heart, that God wouldn't allow me to coach again. That's never thought like that. It's just that I didn't want to be running down to the hospital once a week when I got all this on my plate. I didn't want that. And I was even like, okay, can they bring one of the machines and put them in the office? I'm serious, like dead serious. Like, can they?
We had a lot of conversations.
Yeah, a lot of conversations. Yeah. And Doc would look at me like, he is crazy.
No.
I saw it in your eyes. He is crazy. Is he like this when he coached? Yeah. But we worked it out.
If I have a bad day at work, I tell 16 people I had a bad day at work. Deion Sanders kept it from his sons, except for Junior, who's with him all the time, and said he never left his side. And then the part that is going to be embarrassing for some people, but not for Deion Sanders. And literally, Deion Sanders may save lives by doing this the way he's doing this. One more from Deion Sanders. And we read a lot of commercials here. I love that he dropped this in here, and I hope he's a spokesperson, and I hope they pay him millions of dollars to be an amazing face for this product. Listen in.
Like, it's a whole life change. Like, I can't, and I'm gonna be transparent, I can't pee like I used to pee. It's totally different. I depend on depend. If you know what I mean. I truly depend on depend. Like, I cannot control my bladder. So I get up and go to the bathroom already 4 or 5 times a night. But then I'm sitting up there, waking up, like my grandson. We in the same thing. We got the same problem right now. We going through the same trials and tribulations. We're trying to see who has the heaviest bag at the end of the night. Like, it's ridiculous. But I'm making a joke out of it, but it's real. Like, it is real. It is real. It is real. So if you see porta potty on the sideline, it's real. Okay? I'm just telling you right now, you're going to see it. You're going to see the practice. You're going to see one, because it is unbelievable. Like, dozing off and waking up, first thing I'm grabbing my crotch to see if I peed on myself. And it's just totally different. And I know there's a lot of people out there going through what I'm going through and dealing with what I'm dealing with. And let's stop being ashamed of it. And let's deal with it. And let's deal with it head on.
Uh-oh.
If he didn't want to coach, he would be done. Like you said earlier, I feel like that description of the things that he's going to have to accommodate to while also trying to run a program, it's not by any means convenient. No. And again, like you said, if he wasn't in it, then
welcome, Braves country, to the Pennant Grace, a graceless edition of the Pennant Grace. We're all out of grace, but Atlanta's not all out of wins, because they're riding high on a 1-game win streak, the Atlanta Braves. Victors last night, 10-7 in Game 1 against the series in Kansas City against the Royals. So we call that a win streak at this point in the 2025 season when the Braves have won a game. Conspicuous by their absence, and I'm sitting in her seat, is my broadcast partner, Emily Grace McWhorter, who is in Tuscaloosa, talking to some important people in Tuscaloosa. There's a school there, for those that don't know, has a pretty good athletic program. So my partner working on her day job there. Hopefully she's back with us on Thursday. Robert starts us off in the chat with extend Ronald, that is all. The rallying cry of Robert, and extending baseballs was Ronald Acuna Jr. last night. 468-foot home run in the 10-7 win for Atlanta. That is his 26th home run of 450-plus feet. That is pretty remarkable. Marcell Ozuna also had a 2-run home run, hopefully helping his case in terms of the prospects, writing on the wall. The most likely trade candidate that we see is the Braves selling off some pieces here at the deadline. Several teams in the mix for Marcell. And I do want him to do well for the team, but really for Marcell, I would like to see him to get traded and then to play well for whoever he's traded to so that he can earn himself another good contract. Hearing San Diego all along, and now starting to hear a couple more teams. I've heard Milwaukee and even Detroit possibly in the mix for Marcell Ozuna. Austin Riley, boy, he needed a good one, and he got it. 2 hits, 4 RBIs, player of the game, Austin Riley. Spencer Strider wasn't great, but he also wasn't bad. He went 5 innings, 7 hits, only 2 earned runs. Those were in the first. 2 walks, only 3 strikeouts. So not a typical Spencer Strider. It was a typical Braves bullpen performance as they gave up 3 in the 9th. Tried to make it interesting, but still came out on top despite their best efforts with a 10-7 win. Game 2 is tonight at 6:40 Central Standard Time. Eric Fetty makes his Braves debut. He's 3-10 with a 5.22 ERA. Got him from the St. Louis Cardinals for cash. And he's taking on Seth Lugo, who's a good pitcher. 7-5 with a 2.95. Scott Forster, who's behind the glass, is, some of you may not know this, but is a Chicago White Sox fan. It's rarely come up.
It's true.
But it's true. They play in the AL Central, as do the Kansas City Royals. First off, Scott, I like Kauffman. It seems like a good environment. Seems to be a very good, strong, loyal fan base, small market, and that's a good Royals team. And they're playing good baseball right now.
And they got a waterfall.
They do have a waterfall.
I mean, it's a waterfall.
And their scoreboard has a crown on top of it.
It does.
So also pretty majestic. Good team there, you think, in Kansas City? Any chance that they could make a run for the playoffs?
I do not see that. I think they're an okay team. Seth Lugo, he's pretty solid. I could see, with some of the Braves' offensive troubles they've had at times, having a hard time against Lugo. Offensively, man, Bobby Witt, if he was anywhere other than KC, he'd be headlines everywhere.
Yeah.
Superstar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy in baseball how, I guess you have that in all sports to an extent, but you'll have some guys that are really good players, potential superstar type guys, but if they're playing on a small market, or if they're playing on a team that's either middle of the road or not a very good team, you may not even, an average fan may not have even heard of them.
Yeah, that guy does it all. Hits for average, power. I think he's stolen probably 25-ish bases this season. He does it all.
Good, solid player there. Good team. So we'll see what the Braves are able to do tonight. Got a chance to take the series. That would be nice, considering how poorly Atlanta has played lately. So here's how it shakes up. So you got the 3 in KC. Then you have 3 in Cincinnati. Cincinnati, a team with a winning record. Then you come home for 3 against the Milwaukee Brewers, AL Central leading Milwaukee Brewers. Then 4, followed by 4, still that continued that home streak against Miami, who doesn't have a winning record but is ahead of Atlanta in the standings and is playing well. A day off on the 11th. And then 3 in Flushing against the Mets. 3 in Cleveland against not the Indians. And then come home to play 3 games against the Chicago White Sox.
How about that?
Are we going?
I don't think I can bring myself to spend any money on the White Sox currently.
If that changes, you'll let me know?
I will let you know.
Okay, me, you, and EG.
They've been playing a lot better lately.
Me, you, and EG, we could have a fun time.
Yeah.
Day off after that on the 21st, and then you have the Mets at home, and then you go to Miami for 3, and then ending the month, 4-game series in Philadelphia. That's a lot of good teams in there, and so that is not getting any easier there. Willie pointing out in the chat, and thank you for that, Willie. That's 2 in Cincinnati and 1 in Bristol. So that is correct. So you have the 2 there, and then the rare baseball neutral site game. Our own Emily Grace McWhorter will be there in Bristol for the Speedway Classic. The Braves will be wearing hats with flames on them, as we discussed on Thursday's show. No one too pleased about that. Michael Harris II, and Robert pointed this out in the chat, was the National... Michael Harris II was the National League Player of the Week last week. He went 11 for 23, batting .478 with 6 extra base hits and a 1.500 OPS. As we've said a lot, it probably doesn't feel that way, but it's 100% not personal. We not only like Michael Harris II, we being EG and I, we love Michael Harris II. Love the way he plays the game. He's an elite center fielder, young, exciting player. Seems like a great clubhouse guy, and also just a popular guy that a lot of people like, a lot of kids would like. Just has really struggled at the plate, but playing well now since the All-Star break. Very happy to see that, and that's what you got to do. When the season is done, if you missed it last week, we threw in the towel officially. Bit of an afterthought at this point, but still, you still got to do it. So what you're looking for is things to carry over, build on for 2026. And, I don't think there's a Braves fan that doesn't want Michael Harris II to factor into those future plans. You would rather him be a part of that because of all the things that we mentioned. And so if Michael Harris II is hitting the ball well, then that offense has a chance to fulfill my currently ludicrous statement early in the season of the Braves having an elite outfield. With Jurickson Profar and Ronald Acuna Jr., I still think that's possibly within reach if you could see that at the plate. But you would have to see it at the plate, right? It can't just be a defensive thing. You'd have to see that at the plate. So we'll see if that happens. Who's on the mound for the Braves? It's complicated. It's fluid. It's ever-changing. Mentioned Eric Fetty coming in from St. Louis. They also picked up Carlos Carrasco from the Yankees for cash. Cash, very popular these days. The Braves are sellers, yet they are buying. But they are buying at it's a discount rack. And in fact, we may have gone outside the store. This may be the rack they put outside to kind of lure you in, where they've been inside in the inside discount rack. Now it's outside. We've marked. There's 2 different stickers on. We're really marking them down now. Out of necessity, there's no arms left. it's a real shame about Grant Holmes. You know, it really is. So your entire opening day pitching rotation is currently on the injured list now, with Chris Sale, Spencer Schwellenbach, Ronaldo Lopez, A.J. Smith-Shawver, and now Grant Holmes. Grant was 4-9. A lot of that not his fault, by the way, with a 3.99 ERA. That's over 21 starts. He had 123 strikeouts over 115 innings pitched. So that's a lot of innings. And I believe, pretty sure that's the most of any Braves pitcher this year was Grant Holmes. And so, okay, you get a guy out, you get a couple of guys out, your injury bug at that point, all 5. You know, that's just almost biblical. And as far as catastrophes go, this is the plagues of Egypt. All 5 of your opening day starting rotation out. And the depth is obviously not what you would like for it to be. And so that's a need, one of several needs that you'll see Atlanta having to address in the offseason. But before we get to the offseason, we have the trade deadline. So we mentioned Marcell Ozuna. Continue to see Raisel Iglesias. Saw something this morning about possibly the Cubs. I don't really know. And Pierce Johnson, the other name you see a lot. What is the temperature on Raisel? What are you getting there? I can't imagine it's much at all. He's not had a good year. You get a haul for Iglesias last year, but this is not last year, as we're very well aware. Where last year also an unfulfilling year and a frustrating year and an injury-plagued year, but still a playoff season for Atlanta, which is what this will not be. So I don't know what you get there. By the way, for Marcell, San Diego makes a lot of sense. If we look at current standings, you know, they're 4 back of the Dodgers in the West. It is going to be a dogfight for those wild card spots because you have Milwaukee leading in the Central, and then you've got the Cubs only a game back of them. I mentioned Cincinnati. They're 5 games over 500. Obviously, all season we've had the Phillies and the Mets battling it out. Currently, the Mets are in top spot. 1.5 back is Philadelphia. And so, you know, you have whoever doesn't win that division most likely getting a slot. You have someone in the Central. And so there's a lot of things that could happen. San Francisco still has a winning record, just 1 game over 500. I wouldn't count them out yet. A lot can happen. There's a lot that can happen in August. But San Diego feels like a good fit for Marcell, but we'll see. We'll see where all of the interest is there for him. So trade deadline looming, Braves looking to sell some pieces as they're buying pieces. So Willie making a good point here. Contending teams have a much higher perception of guys like Iglesias than fans do. Relievers with track records are coveted. He certainly has a track record. He does. And sometimes a change of scenery is all it takes, and a guy can kind of catch on again. Maybe working with a different pitching coach, just being in a different clubhouse, whatever it is. If it truly is the end, wish all of those guys well, including Raisel Iglesias. So we will see what happens there. Want to bring Scott back again as well. This was discussed on Next Round today, and all over was death of Ryan Sandberg. Scott, you and I are close to the same age. Growing up, he's one of those quintessential guys where that would be considered one of the most popular player, I know for sure, for kids. Would you not agree with that?
Yeah, I think universally among Cubs fans, at least the ones that are roughly our age, Ryan Sandberg is the one that they point to as like, that's our guy.
Yeah, and when I think of the 80s, he's one of those guys that first comes to mind. Cal Ripken Jr., his teammate, Ryan Sandberg's teammate, the Hawk, Andre Dawson, Robin Yount in Milwaukee, of course, Dale Murphy for the Braves, Mike Schmidt in Philadelphia, George Brett, Don Mattingly, Wade Boggs, and then later on, as you had Barry Bonds and Ken Griffey Jr., Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco, those guys. Kirby Puckett is another one. So he's one of those foundational guys. The Braves, similar to the Cubs in the TBS and WGN. So both teams just got more exposure than anyone else because you could watch them. And for the longest time in Chicago, it was just day games, Scott. They didn't. They weren't playing under the lights until 88, 89, somewhere in there, I want to say.
Yeah, when I was a kid, it seemed like every afternoon after school, I was at my grandparents' house, and I was a big baseball fan. And WGN would occasionally put the White Sox on, but it was Cubs games almost every day.
Almost every day.
So I mean, if I wanted to watch baseball back then, it was either TBS with the Braves or WGN with the Cubs.
I felt like we had an advantage on TBS because we could follow up a Braves game with A, the Andy Griffith Show, and B, wrestling. And WGN didn't do that,
No, didn't see much wrestling on.
So it's like, well, I can stick around after the game. Andy's coming on, or maybe Andy's before the game, and I stick around after, and Ric Flair's taking on Lex Luger. So that kind of maps out my day right there. Ryan Sandberg, look at these numbers. 2,386 hits, 282 home runs, 1,061 RBIs. Lifetime 285 hitter with a .796 OPS. He played from 1981 to 1997. So my entire childhood all the way through high school for me. 9 Gold Gloves. He was an all-star from 84 to 93, so the majority of his career. He was the 1984 MVP and had 7 Silver Sluggers. Quite a career.
Yeah, I didn't remember him hitting for as much power as he clearly did.
I did not either.
In 90, he hit 40 home runs.
Yeah.
1990, 40 home runs.
And, you look, there were years he was driving in as many runs as anybody. Ends up with 282, so a pretty high amount there for Ryan Sandberg. But from all accounts, very good guy. Nice tribute during the broadcast last night from Jeff Francoeur, who played for Ryan Sandberg in Philadelphia, which is where Sandberg started his career. And so our condolences, obviously, to his family, a great ambassador of the game, rightfully so, in Cooperstown. And it's been good reading the tributes there as they've come in. At 2 o'clock today, we have the Meltdown. Meltdown is from 2 o'clock Monday through Friday. Dr. Tim Melton is behind the glass with us today. And before we close, I'd like to kind of go into his world for a second, which the Meltdown covers a lot of things, but the primary thing covered on the Meltdown is movies. And in the comfort of my home, I watched 2 movies over the weekend, which is a big deal for me, Tim. I watched Dune Part 1 on Saturday, and I loved it so much that Sunday afternoon, I watched Dune Part 2.
You're going to want to talk to Tyler instead of me, probably.
But they're still movies.
Yeah, they're movies. I mean, I can turn your microphone on. You don't have to run up here. But, the Dune fanboys are annoying.
So you're not one of these. Are you Fantastic Fouring it, Dune, or is it where it's like it's technically pretty good, but let me tell you all the things that makes me go into a rage about? Like, did you dislike it, or you just were just kind of like
just not my flavor, right? It's like we can both like ice cream, but
I think we do.
I don't like Rocky Road, and that's what Dune is.
I got you.
So it's a flavor profile thing. I'll take Star Wars any day of the week.
I thought I would hold Star Wars closer to my heart for the nostalgia since I grew up with the original trilogy and had the toys and did all the things. But looking at it objectively, these Dune movies are better than Star Wars.
Ooh, thank you, Lush.
They are, Tyler.
So you're saying Dune
Yeah.
or Dune Part 2, I'll give you either one of them, is better than The Empire Strikes Back. That's what you're saying here on an actual broadcast platform. That is what you're willing to say.
I think Part 2 is.
Of course you do. You're 12.
In certain ways, yes. Again, the nostalgia, Empire Strikes Back all day, every day.
This is what makes me yelling at Tyler that he's 12 is what makes the meltdown.
This is what you get on the meltdown every day at 2 o'clock.
But was your goal just to like sort of poke me or what?
No. I was so proud of myself for having watched the movie and wanted to share it with you. But
you should watch The Empire Strikes Back. It's really good.
I've seen Empire Strikes Back
You son-
100 times. I love it. And I will admit, I'm somewhat soured by the string of bad Star Wars movies
That's fair.
that have followed. Dune, which was good, and then Part 2, which was better, even better, and a masterpiece, I thought. It did everything well. Story was told well. I could not very smart, and I could understand it. It looked great. The music, and I thought the actors did a great job, and it was just a cool story. And it just was, for a long movie, they're almost 3 hours. They never lagged for me.
That's awesome, man. I'm proud of you. I think it's great.
I'm proud of you too, Ush.
Thank you. But Tyler, everything you said was correct. Tyler, these are great movies, and I am very excited now for Part 3.
Yeah, they're great. You just have to be willing to invest in the first one to get the payoff of the second one.
Yeah, and you had told me that, hey, there's a lot of setup in Part 1, but I really liked it. And I thought, well, if this one is the lesser of the two, then I know I'm in good shape because I really liked the first one. So.
And you ended up enjoying Part 2 more than Part 1?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's a fantastic movie. Yeah. And maybe it'll be sullied if they continue the story with Dune Episode 4 and, there's a new leader that's, trying to harvest spice.
Where they're going with it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where they just basically rehash the story and then it turns out there's really no story at all, which is what Star Wars did.
Yeah. Lots of talent behind it. And the guy, you need to know this, the guy behind the Dune movies, he's now taking over James Bond, and that's kind of a big deal. That's the thing that could bring us back together. Because I think he's amazing.
Now that fires me up.
Yeah. So can we end on a high note?
That's a high note to end on.
Good.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
We'll see about that. I'm a big fan of the Daniel Craig movies, and so I'm really anxious to see what they do with that franchise as far as that. That makes me even more excited. I love ending on a high note. Let's hope the Atlanta Braves can end today on a high note as they have first pitch tonight at 6:40. Eric Fetty on the mound as they look for a second win, 2's a streak. As always, we're brought to you by Roback. For those who crave activity, you belong in the Roback family. My family, because I'm wearing Roback. When I go to Roback.com, I fill my card up. And then before I leave, on that first order, I enter code PG20. It saves me 20%. Not on part of my order, not on half of my order, but on my entire order. Roback.com, code PG20. EG back with us on Thursday.